Hello everybody. I'm going to get ready to do another figure gesture drawing video here. And I'm going to do it in real time, although I'll probably also have a sped up version. Anyway, so once again I'm going to use Pixel Lovely as the site for the reference pictures. And I have it set to only nude models, only female models, standard session, and the time interval I currently have it set for is 30 seconds, although I'll probably lengthen it as it goes on. And I'll finish up with a fully colored rendered version as well for the last drawing I do. Alrighty, so without further ado, let's get going. I'm using Sketchbook Pro for this, and I have layers already set up. I got like 16 of them, and then the bottom layer is the gray tone you see. And I use a gray tone so that if I want to do highlights, I can, but with only a short amount of time. I don't know how many I'll do, but... And these first ones will probably come out like complete crap because I'm not warmed up yet. And I'm kind of out of practice. I haven't done this in a while. Which is a shame. I really should do this much more often than I actually do. So I'll make sure I put a link to the website down below so that you can find it yourself. And any questions you have, don't hesitate to ask. Feel free to subscribe. I've noticed over the last several weeks a lot more people have been subscribing, so thank you to that. Which is weird because I haven't actually posted any new content recently. Not for the last couple weeks, I think. So. So for this, since I'm not keeping these drawings, obviously. I delete the layer as soon as I'm done with it. So they're only quick warm-up sketches. And eventually, once I'm warmed up, then I'll do a longer form, and eventually I'll do a full colored one. And Sketchbook Pro is really good at this. It's a great program for it. The hardware I'm using, actually drawing on a Wacom Cintiq 21UX, which is a model that's no longer available, but I eventually want to upgrade to one of the newer ones, but I'm not sure when budget will allow for that. Because the model I have, the screen is starting to get a little bit on the beat up side, a little scratchy in the center, but still very much serviceable. And I've noticed a lot of times when I do these, depending on when I start doing them, I'm very tight at the beginning, and it takes me a while to loosen up. And oops, I made this one slightly too big here. No, I'm going to be deleting it in a moment anyway. And it takes me a while to wear them up, it's weird, unless I'm really tired when I start. If I'm really tired, I loosen up rather quickly. But if I'm wide awake, it takes me a little while because I'll almost want to go in and render rather than do sketching, which is so. And that kind of defeats the purpose of getting a quick gesture down. If I don't talk much, it's mostly because it's kind of hard to talk and draw at the same time. Plus, hard to formulate my thoughts, and I'm not really thinking about much anyway. I'm just drawing. So I might just randomly talk, and who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll just get rid of the talking portion of this altogether. I don't really know. I'm noticing I'm starting to make these a little bit too big for the screen real estate I actually have, so I'm going to try and shrink that down a bit, get my proportions better. Notice I'm rapidly running out of layers, so once I get down to where I am out of layers and I add more, I think I'm going to pause the video and then lengthen the time on Pixel Lovely so I can do some more shading and get a little bit more information on the page. Alright, 2 more and then I'll pause the video, change the length. Alrighty, let me pause, and I'll be back in a moment. Well, you won't even notice it. Okay, I reloaded my layers and I've upped the amount of time to a whole minute. So hopefully that'll give me a little more time to add some shading and do a little bit better of a drawing. And also I'll be on the lookout out for a pose that I want to actually do a finished drawing of. I might actually come back to this one because I kind of like the flow of it. So I might come back to this pose later and do a full drawing of it. I've noticed with these I barely put an indication of a face in at all. I think that's because mostly I work with faces, so I know if I go into detail there, I'm going to want to just do a full-on caricature, and that's not what I'm doing this for. So I just pretty much ignore the face. Notice I have one more layer after this one, and then I'm going to switch it to a 2-minute pose. And for those of you who don't actually want to watch that long of a video, what I'll do is I'll probably break this up into smaller portions as well as the whole thing. So I know not everybody likes watching longer form videos. I myself actually like it. I'll regularly watch videos an hour or more. That's fine with me. But I know a lot of people, short attention span, they only want to watch a couple minutes and whatever. That's fine, I understand that too. And then the final drawing at the end, that'll also be a standalone video as well as part of this. So, Okay, pause the video. Alright, and I'll do 4 of these 2-minute poses. Alright, that was the first pose it gave me. It's actually one I've drawn before. So I think I've actually did a colored one of this one before, so you might recognize it. Of course, I'm also probably drawing it a little bit differently than I drew it last time, since I'm not going for an exact likeness. It might look a little different. But when I had drawn this one in color, I had drawn it because I like the shape, the flowing lines of it, the triangularness of it. Alright, this is the last 2-minute one, and then I'll pause the video again, and then I will find which picture that I want to um, do a full color drawing of. And like I said before, there's a good chance I'll just go back to that one I was doing before if I can find it again. Because I kind of like that one. And I didn't have enough time to really do it justice. And you just noticed that I drawn it once again to out of frame, so I did bring it down slightly because I am going to be working longer than the earlier ones, but I noticed one problem I tend to have when doing quick sketches is I tend to shorten the limbs a lot. So when I do the figures, I notice that I tend to get my limbs way too short. So I'm trying to counteract that. Sometimes I over counteract that and make them too long. But knowing your own tendencies can be a great help in trying to counteract them. Okay, actually, I think I'm just going to keep the next image up, so I'm going to pause the video and pause the Pixel Lovely because I actually like the image that it put up there. Let me pause that and I'll just draw up the one that they had there. Alright, yeah, I'll be back in a second. Pause. Alright, so I'm back. Sorry, it took me longer than I expected. I had to take care of something else. Not that you'll notice, but... Alrighty, so I'm going to do this sketch now. Now I have the Pixel Lovely is paused right now, so I'm just going to be looking at the image so I can take my time and get a good, decent drawing down here to do the sketch from, do the painting from. And on this layer, I'm just going to do a fairly decent sketch, and then I'll actually start painting on a layer under it. You know, one thing that I would normally do, if I was working in Photoshop and doing like a client piece or something more fully involved, I will flip the artwork a lot to make sure and reference a lot. But here I obviously can't flip the reference unless I were to screen capture it and do it that way. But I'm not going to do that. And there again, you see, I made it too big or too high up. But I might still flip the reference. Let's see. Now I have to see it is slightly a bit skewed, but not too bad. I have my Cintiq all set up with program buttons to do that automatically in Photoshop, but I don't really have it programmed to do much of anything in Sketchbook Pro, although I probably should. I mean, actually I do have it set up to switch between brush tool, I think, and color picker. Or I should, maybe it's the brush size tool and color picker or something along those lines. Let's see. Yeah, there's the color picker. So if I hold it in, it'll go color picker, and so yeah, and then I'll return to the brush tool. this again. Get the major lighting in. Here there's a strong light coming from the left there. This spot right here, that always tends to be a weak spot. When I'm drawing, I've noticed that's one of the spots I'm kind of weak at. Right where the Achilles tendon comes down, and then goes into the heel. This part leg goes forward, and then there's the foot. There we go. Not too bad. I get the proportion a little bit better before I go to paint. I want to try and solve most of the major problems in the sketch phase before I go to the full drawing, or full painting rather. This foot just looks like just a wedge pretty much from this ankle. The ankle's down there. And if I sound like a babbling idiot, I apologize for that. It's mostly because I am a babbling idiot. Okay. Now the drawing is almost to the point where I'll start painting almost. You just get the upper body a little bit more realized as far as the tone goes, or the value goes, I mean. This is the top of her head. She's turned and looking back. So there's shoulders there. It's overlapping her face somewhat. Nose comes out like that. A bit of an eye showing. Comes to just above her head. And then it goes into the hands. Their hand is essentially right across. Alrighty, now one of the things I gotta do is I'm going to darken that background up a lot because in the reference she is on a fairly dark background. So let's see, if I paintbrush a dark background in, it's not gonna work so well. So I might go too dark and then I won't see the sketch. Yeah, I was afraid of that. So I'm not gonna do it that method. Let me undo that. Use a paintbrush. I will paint in a dark background. It's been a while since I've used Sketchbook Pro for painting. Alright, that's the background layer. sure there's probably much better ways of doing this, but like I said, I'm not often using Sketchbook Pro for painting. I really only do it for these videos sometimes, and as a change of pace, I do it almost exclusively paint in Photoshop. That's good enough for now. Now start adding color. You see I have this Copic library of colors loaded up. Now she's in the reference image, she's mostly in the orange family. So I'll take some of these colors here. Now this is on a separate layer, and I'll just lay down color to use as a palette for mixing my colors. Her hair's on the reddish side. Ooh. Alrighty. Shrink the brush down. And eventually I'll get rid of the sketch layer altogether once I have enough information I no longer need it. I'll lower its opacity. There we go. Back to the drawing layer. It's too orangey, so we could desaturate that a little bit more. Let's go more towards the yellowish side. This might work a little bit better. Don't too saturated. A little bit better. And I'm staying zoomed out for this. I'm not gonna zoom in till much later. Alright, let's turn off. Yeah, turn off the drawing layer. It's starting to hold its own, so I think I gotta leave off the sketch layer for a little bit. Let me just do an outline of the body. And I'll use a fairly dark color for this. Let's see, dark blue. Just saturated dark blue. Let's see, this should do it. And I'll go to the pencil for this. Since she is in sharp lighting, you'll definitely see the contour. You see there, I kind of mixed a sketching with the painting, but whatever gets the job done, gets the information on the page, is fine by me. I take a look at most of what I do is really just notes for further along in the drawing. Throughout the whole thing, I'm pretty much just leaving notes for myself until I'm done. Back to the brush. She has this lovely shade of reddish orange hair. I definitely want to try and capture as best as I can. It's a very beautiful shade. And anyone who's drawn on this site will definitely know exactly which model this is. I hope. And all the photos of her are taken by Hong Li, or Hong Lai. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that even remotely correctly. So on the off chance you're watching this, Hong, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Canvas. Make sure things aren't going to go right here. Now, I'm noticing that proportionally, I think my from here to here is too short. Let's see if my sketch was longer. Nah, even in my initial sketch, I think it was too short. So let's see, let me try and eyeball that up. Alright, so from her, alright, I just checked on the reference image and let me mark this down. There we go. So from is, oh, whoops, wrong brush. Alright, I just checked in from, wrong brush. From this point to this point should be about even as from this point to this point. So let me check. Now you can't see what I'm doing. I'm actually just using my fingers. So actually that is correct. So that does equal that as it should. So that part's not off. Let me just get rid of those lines. I should have put that in a separate layer. So let me. And I'm done. And I'm done with the sketch, so I can get rid of that. So now let's see, the lower back itself, or from the base of the neck to that, is about the same as the lower part of the leg. So from here to here should be about the same as here to here. And that's right too, so maybe my proportion isn't as off as I thought it was. But something's looking wrong to me, so let me reverse it. Let's see. And here. I think it's because I think I see what the problem is. I think I made it rest too low. I think it's only supposed to be up here. It's really just an indication of it. I think it's supposed to be up higher. So I think that might have been throwing me off a bit. Just not a major difference, but might have been enough. So this hip should be slightly narrow. Okay, let me turn this back around. This line comes out there. This one overlaps a bit there at the knee. It goes in sharply and then turns back out. It should be a little bit more orangey. And it should be pretty dark down here. sometimes I'll use the blending brushes to smooth out a little bit, but I got to be careful when I do them because you don't want to blend the colors wrong. One of those tools I got to make sure I'm careful with or I'll screw it up. But sometimes if I hatch my lines together, I'll use that to get rid of the hatch marks. Let's see now. Right about here is a sharper shadow. It lightens up a bit, and there's like a line of darkness that goes down into the back of the knee. Mid-leg shadow, or I should say between the leg shadow. And I'm kind of just mumbling, talking to myself at the moment. If you get anything out of that mumbling, great, good for you. If not, oh well. Sorry about that. Now you've noticed I'm mostly using my pencil tool at the moment as opposed to my paintbrush. I think one of the reasons for that is for years I was a colored pencil artist and I use mostly colored pencils, so I'm more used to blending that way than I am blending in paint. So that's mostly why I do that. You just force a habit. And so I'm used to blending by cross-hatching and hatching. Oh, I apologize for that siren you may or may not hear in the background. Now I notice there comes a point in a drawing like this or a painting like this, or whichever you want to call it, as I'm working that I'll start um, hatching or drawing around the form, and it's usually at that point where I start seeing it more as a three-dimensional object rather than just 2D, because earlier you noticed all my hatch marks were going pretty much the same direction, but then just now I start curving around her buttocks. And it's usually at that point it starts taking a little bit more life, which is probably why I start drawing around the form, because now I start seeing it more as a form. Let's see, this line really should be cutting it a lot sharper. Ooh. This should be way darker down here. Way darker. Darken up this core shadow. Canvas just a bit. You know what? I just realized I haven't saved this image at all, so let me save this. There we go. Now at least it's saved. So hopefully I don't, I'm hoping I don't completely royally screw it up, but just in case I do have it saved. Usually I don't go that long at all without saving it. I don't know why I didn't save it already. That was silly of me. So I kind of would have been upset if anything did go wrong. I did screw something up. Or power outage, or who knows. All sorts of catastrophes can happen when you don't want them to. No, when do you want them to? Yeah, so if any of you go out and are inspired to go out and do your own sketching or whatnot, or you know, been doing it long before you met me, or came to my channel or whatever, leave a video response. I'd love to see it. I think I made this calf too thick. Yes. I did. There we go. Alrighty, yeah, that's looking better. I have to admit, there's part of me that's tempted to do zoom in, but that's not going to. Oh, I don't think I'm going to zoom in at all for this drawing. And see, now I noticed that I put this a little too low. It should be around here. This. There's like a almost horizontal line at the top of her calf, the back of the knee, which should be about even with this curve here. This curve actually should come down a little bit lower too. Bring that up and that down. Okay. I think this light, let's see, I think this highlight part actually comes up high. I mean, the shadow line is higher up. I think I put the shadow line too low. I noticed that because when I went to put this knee line, which should be below that one. Save again. Alright, now I'm going to start concentrating a little bit more on the upper body since I got the lower body pretty much, good. I'm fairly comfortable with how it is at the moment. Just want to add in that ankle line. Bring this curve in pretty far. There we go. Now we'll go back to the upper body. I don't think I have the body nearly wide enough coming out here. Should be close to, like, if I follow the curve of the edge here, should come close to the toes, but not quite. So I think this needs to come out to about there. Yes, I think that's better. horizontal line here. It's more of a greenish orange up here. Goes into a fairly orange here under the hair. And let's see, right about here, there's another sharp line. Right at the end of that muscle there. I probably should have a better grasp on my anatomical terms by now, but I don't. It's funny, my wife is taking some anatomy courses in college, so I like to borrow her books just for artist reference sometimes. I had gotten her posters that have all the muscle groups and the skeleton groups and all that fun stuff, and that's a great reference to look at. Now the left-hand side, that should be pretty damn close to white because it's very washed out. In fact, I think it's actually blown out to white in part of it. Now, her elbow should be above her head, so it's actually up here. Curves down to here. Slight indication of the breast, which is actually on the front side, of course. But so it's all blown out, so that should be right to white. Right to white. Blown out to white. Her forehead would be blown out to white. While I'm not going to do a full render on her face or anything, I do want to make it a little bit more than, I don't want to make her completely ugly either. Let's see, her arm pretty much up. Her shoulder line goes right there. Her elbow, which is higher than that, so the elbow should be up here. And so the hand will be here, going like that. Alright, so far I'm kind of liking how this is coming out, so that's good. Well, that's always a good sign. I haven't been watching the clock at all, so I have no idea how long this actually is. I won't know until I see the video recording and go back and look, and I'm like, holy crap, that was pretty long. So if you've been watching this whole time, thank you for watching. Let me know if you'd like these long form videos or if you prefer the shorter form. Although I suppose if you preferred the shorter form, you wouldn't be still watching the longer form. Tell me if you like hearing me ramble and talk about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, or whatever the hell else comes into my pea brain. Let's see, so that thumb's about there, so this thumb would be about there as well. They're about equal. Hands are always fun to draw. I'm trying not to even think that I am drawing hands. I won't throw myself off. I'm drawing. Well, right now I'm drawing negative space, like the negative space between the two hands. We can try and gauge the hand shape better from that. So this one has two fingers bending out like that. It goes right across it. This one. Now that this finger almost touches that one, almost, but there's space between there. Line that up. So the point of this finger should be right around the hairline. Pretty damn close. Yeah, wherever you can do a comparative measurement, I find that helps. Or find things that line up with each other. Anything you could do to give yourself a little aid in placement. Like in that case, I was able to do a sight line and notice that that tip is right around where the hairline is. Of course, that's all predicated on me putting the hairline in the right spot. Which, in this case, is pretty much should be lined up with the crack in your rear end. Yep, so they all line up pretty good. So on that score, we're in good shape. So our two fingers actually come down. So that's actually two fingers up, one finger, or three fingers up. One finger goes up, the other three come down. slightly. This curves up into a forward finger that comes close to touching that. And there's a pointer finger. Alright. This one's actually a pointer. Here the wrist lines up with close to here, so this should be where the wrist is. Yeah. I think this. Let's see. Something not feeling right. See, something's not right about that. So let me see what this fingertip lines up. Back of her eyes. That is lining up fairly accurately. You know what? I think I see what the problem is. I think her head's too far over this way. So yeah, I think her head is slightly over too far. Actually, let me undo that instead. I'll copy it. Then there, now I got a new layer of that. Now I can put it over. So slightly. Yep, that looks good. There. So it's just a slight adjustment, but let me move that hand over too. Ever so slightly. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. Merge that down, save. Okay, much better, I think. Foreshadow here. Alright, this thing is rapidly coming to the close. So I don't think I'm going to go super detailed on those hands, but I just want to get them roughly accurate. See, I do want to clean up the face a little bit more. This foot also, I think, is a little too horizontal, so I'm going to rotate that a bit. Let's see, so I'm going to select it. Let's see, select, edit, copy, edit, paste, down to where it belongs, and just rotate it ever so slightly. So it's going up at a slight angle. Maybe. I'm going to shrink it down just a tad. There we go. Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Save the image. Clean up the face just a bit more. Darken up. I gotta work on this area. This area, it's not quite working. I know I mentioned it a little before, but I do think she has very lovely hair. I want to make sure I capture that. Yeah, the face is definitely looking better now. But I still want to get that back to the right shade. I still think it needs to be more orangey and darker. Right around these hairs. So darker. Maybe do that with paint. Definitely working a little bit better. rose too high too. Alright, now it's time to clean up this background, crop the image, and finish it. Alrighty. I'll just erase any overlap on this. So if any of this happens to overlap the figure, I'll just erase it out. verticals to about here, and I think there's a plane change for the ground plane. So she's standing on like a tarp that goes vertical and then it goes horizontal down there. And it is a little bit lighter in this area than it is down here. So it's almost like a spotlight. It looks like it's hitting about there. It's really dark down here. Start up here. Okay, I gotta crop this image and see. Select. Think about that should do it. I think I want it perhaps a little bit wider. Whoops, I don't want to do that. Maybe reselect. Hold on a second. Selection tools aren't quite as the same as Photoshop. I'm more used to Photoshop. So I want to have more spot, more on the side where she's looking. I think that'll work better. Let's see, crop it. Alright, there. You know what? Actually, I think I want to crop a little bit lower, so let me undo the crop. I'm going to shrink the whole image down. I'll zoom out a bit. Just a tad. Select. Let's see. Let me see how that works. Yeah, I think I like how that's cropped. Get back to doing the background. And then plane changes right around there. And since she is casting a shadow, but the light is that way. Go in and erase. And then overlap. Alrighty, so Victor. Save. And then I'm gonna just add a little bit of blue to this layer here. This is, I want to cool down the shadow. So I'm going to go to the blue, shift dark. Just, ooh, that's still too bright, too saturated. Let's see, I think that might be. I'm going to lower the transparency on that. Merge that down. And there we go. Just little tarp marks, you know, the different wrinkles and whatnot in the tarp itself. Just add a little visual interest, a little texturing. All right. Maybe just a slight crop again. Might be a little bit too tall. Computer's slowing down slightly because it's currently backing up everything. So it backs up every hour. There we go. That's a little bit better cropping, I think. Alright, sign this thing and it's done. Alrighty, thank you for watching, any of you who are still watching this whole thing. Click the subscribe button, leave comments below, let me know if you liked it, if you want to see more long-form videos, if you prefer shorter form, if you have questions for the next video I happen to do, or suggestions, comments, critiques, whatever, you know. Alrighty, thank you for watching.